topic today, the first Sunday in May, is planting the seed. And if we think about it, we're all the seeds in God's garden, because there is only, as Gretchen was singing, there's only one power, and that is the power of Spirit, the power of one. And we're all part of that power, and we are each given the seed of possibility within us. The seed of possibility. Wow, you know, when I go around, Kirk and I recently were down at Plant Depot in San Juan Capistrano, and I love going down there because they have so many different kinds of plants and trees, fruiting trees, just everything, inside plants, outside plants, all this. People have their carts, and they're going around the Plant Depot, just really selectively looking at all the beautiful flowers and plants and trees and fruit, and they're selecting just the ones they want, and they fill their carts. Right? Have you done that recently, this spring, ready to plant and grow new things? I just wonder, are we that careful in the seed thoughts we plant in our minds? Do we select them really carefully and monitor them and look, oh, how well do you think this one will grow? What's this one going to become? I don't think so. I think we have some work to do, because a lot of us, all of us, many of us, some of us, whatever, have habitual thought patterns. We've either collected from race-conscious thinking, from our parents, from our ancestors, whatever, that we bring forth and we don't even question. We just take them as our beliefs. And you know, we have to look deeply at our beliefs and our feelings, because they are the things that grow our thoughts, our words, our emotions, our actions. And we need to look at those to figure out, what are we growing in our life? There is a law of growth and creativity, one of the main laws of the universe, that we are here, and our divine right is to continue to grow and evolve and become forever. There is that divine law of growth and creation. If you think about it, God is the seed, and in everything there's implanted a purpose and a reason for being here. There's nothing random or a mistake in the universe. And God is the harvest, the abundance, the beauty that blossoms. But God is also the gardener. And the difference there between the seed and the harvest is the seed can't say, you know, I was thinking about this. I don't really want to be a tomato. I would really rather be a beautiful rose. And the harvest can't say, well, all that time we were growing, I didn't want to become this. I didn't want to be a banana. I wanted to be an oak tree. But we that have been implanted and given the seed of possibility within us, we can say, no, I'm just not going to do that. I don't believe in myself. I'm not good enough. Or we can have that, whatever it is that blocks that sense of becoming that possibility that's already in there. When the beautiful song this morning was talking about the power of one, we can make our dreams real. If we really want to know, what is it we're to grow into? What are we becoming? We have to think what is inside our dreams. Our dreams are our heart's longing, what we're intended to do and be. It's like looking at the plant before it's blossomed and you don't recognize the leaves and wondering what it's going to become. It already knows. Well, we have that same possibility in us. But we're the gardeners, and we have to be careful at how we tend to our minds, our beliefs, and our feelings in order that we can really grow and blossom and become. Because that oneness that the song mentioned also is really what we're becoming. Hafez, my beautiful friend, 13th century Sufi mystic friend, says, I am made whole. God said, I am made whole by your life. Each soul completes me. So are we doing the work of becoming all that we're meant to be? Because Ernest Holmes used to love to talk about the metaphor of the mental garden, our mental garden, because it's so easy for people to understand. I mean, think of being a little kid. And in kindergarten, I knew lots about this. Not me in kindergarten just, but teaching kindergarten for 20 years, I knew about this, how kids would be in such awe when we'd plant the seed and wait, and it would sprout and grow. It's like the miracle of life right before your eyes. Well, that's the possibility we have in us, in our mental garden, to grow these possibility seeds, to grow into ideas and things to manifest in our life. But there's things we need to do. We have responsibility, because Jesus talked about, he loved to talk in parables. Parables were stories, or are stories, that meet you where you are, meets the listener where they are. And we can hear the same parable, the same story, and it can have different meanings depending where we are in our own evolution and our own growth process. And he had the parable of the sower and the seed. And the first word he has in that parable is listen. How well we're listening. It's not just with our outer ear, but also that inner ear. How well are we listening to the messages within us? Listen. There was a sower, and I'll just add this, who was discriminately, without much consciousness, sowing his seeds. So there was a sower who threw seeds on the path, and the birds ate them up. And he also threw seeds on the rocky ground, where there wasn't much soil. And the seed would sprout, but then as soon as the hot sun came out, it would wither because it had no roots to hold it in, for it to nourish itself. He also threw seeds on the thorny bushes. The seeds landed and were soon choked up by the thorns. But when the seeds were thrown on the fertile soil, they produced grain, but just not one piece of grain. They grew to be much more, 100-fold, 60-fold, 30-fold. And then he ended that parable by saying, listen, those who have ears. So the message is, wake up, be aware, watch what you're doing. Have strict censorship over the thoughts in your mind. What are we growing? What are we cultivating? What are we thinking? We have a part to play in this process of growing the seed thoughts in our mental garden. We have to, first of all, clear the soil of our mind. And as Emily so beautifully said in her opening reading, we must take out those thoughts of worry and concern and anger and hatred, because they suck up our mind. You know, as I was driving here this morning, I was parked on Alicia, turning on Via Fabricante, and I noticed that the person next to me was running his hands through his hair, and I could just tell he was really stressed out. And I was just trying to send good thoughts, and sure enough, the car in front of him didn't quite turn immediately when the light turned green, so he laid on the horn. And I knew ahead of time he was going to turn and realize that lane ended, and he was going to have to come into my lane. So I was ready for it. So he pulls over and almost hits me, and I put on my horn, and I just backed up and let him go. But I thought, oh, I wonder what's in his mind right now. I wonder what kind of thoughts. I didn't know if there was sadness or grief or anger or just unworthiness of being late or having to be somewhere that was causing that kind of behavior. And I thought how important it is that we can weed out those thoughts, that we can let the God thoughts blossom and grow. Because when we have those thoughts in our mind, we don't have room for the voice of God, the words of God to come through. So we got to clean out the soil. And then we've got to be really, really, really choosy about the plants we see, the seeds we plant, the plants we see, whatever. The seeds we choose what we put in our mind, and we better choose well. When we talk about hope in the world, growing and doing things to make things better, we have a part to play. When we talk about the song changing the world, we have a part to bring newness in the world. We've been home for a long time and had a really lot of time to think about what's important to us. You know, Rumi, in his beautiful poem, The Breeze at Dawn, has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. He says, You must know what you really want. If we aren't clear on what we really want to manifest in our life, what kind of life we want, we're not always going to get the things we want, but we can get the energy. We can get the consciousness we want. We can get the energy around us and in us and through us that we desire. But we have to know what we really want. Do you want to be feeding the weeds of separation and duality? Or do you want to be nourishing the seeds of oneness and peace and understanding? We're not all going to be the same, thank God. How boring this world would be. But we got to start accepting our differences because we're all the unique expressions in this garden of life. So we have to start doing activities and thinking thoughts that can bring understanding and listening that bring us together. So we clear the soil of our mind, which takes spiritual practice every single day. In fact, for many of us, it should be way more than once a day. We got to be cleaning out that soil often, pulling the weeds, because there is nothing and no one immune from weed thinking, right? The thoughts come in, but we have the power and the choice to pull out those thoughts and plant something new there. That's up to us. And then we have to maintain our garden. We have to be sure that the garden of our mind is getting what it needs. So what is it you really want? What is it that's going to nurture and nourish your soul? Does anybody here want to be a good gardener? Both outside and inside? Of course, we all want to be good gardeners. We'd love a beautiful garden in our life, but in ourself, we want to be a good gardener. And there's certain rules for being a good gardener. If you think about it, a good gardener does their work in joy, is happy, is very happy about what they're doing. They also do their gardening with ultimate faith. They have to know that this process, this gardening process, remember, we're the seed of God's, we're a seed of spirit, we're made in the image and likeness of. We have to realize that this process is co-creative. We're not doing this alone. The seed doesn't grow on its own. We don't grow on our own. We need to be in alignment with spirit, that we can have divine guidance. God-inspired activities are the ones that bring fulfillment and joy into our life. So we have to realize we're co-creating with spirit. It is the Father within me that doeth the work, but I've got my part to do too. We have to be in faith, but we had to do the preparation, the maintenance. We've got work to do, but be in that place of understanding. I am a child of God, of spirit, of love, of light, whatever it is, compassion, joy, peace, purpose, whatever your seed wants to grow, and be that. We have to start right this minute, and I encourage you to do this. Praise yourself for all the seeds you want to plant, even before they're grown. Praise yourself for the goodness you want to do, for the connections you want to make, for the forgiveness that takes so much work sometimes, but the forgiveness that you're doing. Praise yourself. Because if you praise yourself, you're sending that energy, the essence, out to spirit. We have to have courage to grow. Because when you grow, you're out there. Who you are is being seen, and not everybody is going to be in absolute agreement with who you are. Shucks, it doesn't work that way. Anais Nin, a French poet and author, said, "Life grows and shrinks directly in relationship to one's courage." So think, if you're to break open your dream right now, and our dreams change at different times in our lives. Dreams can be different, but if you opened your dream right now, what would it say to you? You have to listen. Remember, that's a spiritual practice of listening. What is my dream telling me? And you may not know how to manifest the whole thing, which we don't, but what's the next step to bringing this seed to a sprout? My dream seed to a sprout. What's the next step? And do I have the courage to do what it takes? And what's the answer? That was really not so good. Okay, if you're not doing it for yourself, just do it for me, okay? What's the answer? Yes, we all have the courage because we're made with courage. We do. Think of the courage it's taken you to get here where you are right now. It's taken a heck of a lot. So, we all have the courage. So, I'm just going to ask right now that we take this time to just close your eyes. Put your feet on the beautiful soil of this thing we call earth. To open your heart, which is that is the soil, along with your mind, to build the garden of our life. We each have a purposeful place in this garden. We are not here by accident. We are here because we are a divine representation of spirit. And just in your heart of hearts, say, I am the rich soil for God's idea to grow, God's idea as me, because I am the perfect me. There's no one else that's designed to be exactly like me. I am guided and directed and divinely inspired to do all I need to do in the art of becoming. Right here and now, I know. I just know the next step. I'm guided and directed. I make the space, I listen, and I have the courage to plant the seeds of goodness, of forgiveness, of love, of possibility, of peace and understanding in my heart and mind, that I may be fully grown from a seed of goodness into a harvest of life and fulfillment. Just breathe that in and see if there's any place that needs to be cleared, any place you need to nourish yourself, nurture yourself, that you may fully blossom in this stage of growth to your greatest and best yet to be. The time is now. And I see this beautiful garden of life in this moment. And so as you breathe in, open up and wake up. I know for each of us, we have the courage to do what needs to be done, the inspiration to be the light and to see the way. I thank you all for being in my garden because of you, it's more beautiful, it's more vibrant, it's more meaningful. Together, we make a difference. Thank you, and so it is.